How's it going? I'm Bryce Idoni. I'll be doing the different O's, I's, and actions today for some of the muscles on the lower body. I'll be doing 11 muscles. I'll be demonstrating with the painted bones as well as aspects of my body as well as actions moving my body. To start off with, I'm going to name the different 11 muscles on the board so I don't forget when I'm mentioning the muscls. Start off with the psoas major, the pectineus, the adductor magnus, the obturator internus, the gluteus minimus. Also have the quadriceps femoris. Then we have the vastus lateralis. Also have the biceps femoris. We have the gastrocnemius, both heads. We also have the popliteus. And also we have the fibularis longus. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. That is all 11 of the muscles I'll be doing today. I'm going to start off with, I'm going to go over the O's and I's for the psoas major. The origin for the psoas major is the transverse processes of L1 through L4 of the spine. And the insertion is on, I can actually have on the painted bone. It is the lesser tubercle of the femur. The actions of that are hip flexion, hip internal rotation, and then lateral flexion and actual flexion of the inferior portion of the spine. So that is it for the psoas major. For the pectineus, the origin on the, let me get the oxide. The origin for the pectineus is the pectineal line on the superior pubic ramus, which is right here, number 18 on the painted bone. The insertion is the pectineal line on the femur, which is right here, number 9 on the femur. Okay, so that's pectineus and psoas major done. Next we have the adductor magnus, which is for the origin. Right here, we have the adductor magnus. Did I go over the pectineus actions? I did not. The pectineus actions are flexion, internal rotation for the hip, as well as adduction. So adduction, flexion, and internal rotation are the actions for the pectineus. Okay, forget that. Adductor magnus again. Going down here, it is the inferior pubic ramus to the ischiotuberaceae is the adductor magnus origin. And then for the insertion, it is the medial, so linea aspera of the femur, and then the medial supracondylar ridge to the adductor tubercle right here. And that's the O's and I's. The actions of the adductor magnus is adduction of the hip, flexion of the hip, as well as extension of the hip. And that's that for the adductor magnus. For the obturator internus, this out, we have the internal rim of the obturator foramen for the origin. The insertion is, let me find it, is the medial greater trochanter on the femur. The actions of the obturator internus is abduction of the hip, as well as external rotation. So that's again abduction of the hip and external rotation at the hip. Perfect. Moving on to the gluteus minimus. The origin for the gluteus minimus, which is right here, number 2, is the anterior gluteal line, and between the anterior gluteal line and the inferior gluteal line. That's the origin. The insertion, let me find it real quick, is the anterior greater trochanter, which is on the femur, which is right here, number 3. And then the actions for gluteus minimus are a deduction. Wait 1 second, sorry. Is flexion, internal rotation, and abduction, not adduction, abduction. Okay, so that's the gluteus minimus. For the quadriceps femoris, let's see right here. Quadriceps femoris, the origin, let me find it real quick, is lateral to the ischial tuberosity right here, which is number 15 for the origin. And then on the femur, it's the intertrochanteric crest for the insertion for the quadriceps femoris, which is right here. Perfect. For the actions for the quadriceps femoris, it's a deduction. So a deduction going in just like so, going in just like so, and then also external rotation, just like the obturator turnus, but the obturator turnus instead of a deduction has a abduction. Okay. For the vastus lateralis, let's see real quick. Vastus lateralis, the origin's right here on the femur. It's the linea aspera. The lateral media aspera of the femur. The insertion for the vastus lateralis is, 1 second, is the tibial tuberosity via the quadriceps tendon. Or I mean, not the, yeah, via the quadriceps tendon. So right here. The tibia. And then for the actions of the vastus lateralis, it's just knee extension, like so. Perfect. So for the biceps femoris, moving on, we have 2 different origins for the long head and then one for the short head of the biceps femoris. One is number 9 on the oxycoxae, which is the ischial tuberosity. It's also, this is for the long head of the biceps femoris origin. It's also the origin for the semitendinosus. And then the short head origin is on the femur. It's the lateral, let me find it, the lateral linea aspera, as well as the lateral supracondylar ridge of the femur. And then for the insertion, they both have insertion on the lateral fibular head, which is, I can't have a model for it, but it's right here. Perfect. The actions for the biceps femoris is extension at the hip. So wait, make it a better angle for this. So extension at the hip, as well as knee flexion, and then also external rotation at the knee and not the hip. So this should be isolated. Okay, moving on to, let me mark that off. Moving on to the gastrocnemius, also has 2 heads with a different origin each. So for the gastrocnemius, we have the medial head, which is the popliteal surface of the femur, and then a lateral head origin, which is the lateral femoral condyle of the femur. And the insertion for both of those are the posterior calcaneal tuberosity via the Achilles tendon or calcaneal tendon. So it's right here. Perfect. Let's log back on. So, and then for the actions for the gastrocnemius is flexion at the knee, as well as, I can't really see it, as well as plantar flexion. I'm gonna bring this out. As well as plantar flexion, like so. Perfect. So to left, the popliteus and the fibularis longus. So for the popliteus, the insertion is very close to the gastroc long head. It's the lateral femoral condyle of the femur, and then the femoral epicondyle, lateral femoral epicondyle of the femur is the origin. The insertion for the popliteus is the soleus line, the soleal line, which is right here, number 2 on the tibia. And the actions for the popliteus are flexion. Let me get this better. Is flexion at the knee, internal rotation, open chain, and then if it's closed chain, then it would be external rotation, which you can't really see. So open chain, which is like this, on the ground, would be internal rotation. On the ground, it would be external rotation. Perfect. So last one is the fibularis longus. Again, I don't have a model for this, so I'll just be using myself. The origin for this, let me adjust the angle. Origin for this is the superior lateral portion of the fibula. So right down here, the 2/3 of the superior lateral portion of it. And then it inserts on the, let's see here, on the sulcus. Let me take my sock off. The lateral malleolus sulcus, the calcaneal sulcus down here, and they go and they insert all the way up to the metatarsal 1 right here, which is the pinky toe. And then the actions for this are, move it back down, are eversion as well as plantar flexion. And that is everything. Thank you so much.